Okay. Thank you, Leah. And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Jen. And thank you for everybody being here. I'm going to sing a chant that I received during a vision quest. And then I'm going to call in the directions with crystal bowls. Great Spirit, let fear in the world be healed. Great Spirit, let love fully be revealed. Great Spirit, let fear in the world be healed. Great Spirit, let love fully be revealed. Call in the powers of the East, the powers of morning, of inspiration, of fire, of the Christ consciousness, of the Alpha, of the Eagle, of Raphael. If you would, join me in a very deep breath and hold it. Breathe the powers in and release. We ask those powers to be a part of our time together in their highest form this evening. Now I call in the powers of the South, the element of water, of daytime, summer, innocence, Hathor, the anaconda, and Michael, the abundance of the green goddess. Take a deep breath and breathe these powers in. Hold at the top. Hold. And release. We ask that the powers of the South be a part of our time together. We honor you. We turn to the powers of the West, the element of earth, of death, of bear, of Mary Magdalene in my cosmology, Jaguar, and Gabriel. Take a deep breath. Hold at the top of the inhale. Hold. And release. We turn to the powers of the North and we honor them. We ask that they be a part of our time together in their highest form. The wisdom keepers, White Buffalo Medicine Woman, the star family, the element of air. Take a deep breath. Hold. Release. Please join us in our time together. And then we call in the power of the center, which is the above, the below, and the within. We honor the powers of the center, the element of spirit, of our own multidimensionality, of our connection to earth and sky, the as within, so without, as above, so below. Feel your connection to the heart of Pachamama, all the way up to your star homes and back down again. Feel all the powers you are connected to. Take a deep breath. Hold. And release. I am complete, Leah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was wonderful. So now I want to speak just briefly about our teacher, Jen. I met her in my early part of my medicine walk in the Andean cosmology, and she really was a powerful force for me as I dove into this work. And I've sat at her mesa quite a few times as she held space and encouraged me to step deeper and stronger into my medicine and my calling. And I consider her one of my teachers and guides through this journey. And my connection with her, I feel blessed by it. And I'm so honored that she is teaching us tonight. And yeah, that's really, I think on you know, on the emails and on the announcements on Facebook, I listed all that she that she does, which is, you know, she's got a lot of offerings and a lot of power. And so Jen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you, Kim. It's beautiful. And thank you, everyone, for showing up. It's such a privilege to be here with you. And I also wanted to speak the name of a sister that a lot of us are connected with and love dearly, Rowan Farrell, who is in process of making her transition right now. And I know that's been on a lot of hearts, and just wanted to speak her name, invite her spirit, her sombra, in to the circle with us if that is desired by her. Yeah. Thank you, Rowan. And I'll just start by saying that teaching is not exactly my comfy place. So, which is exactly why when Leah invited me to do this, I said yes, just to stoke that fire and challenge myself a bit. So again, thank you for being here and witnessing as I stumble into this process. And I'm very excited to talk tonight about circles. Yay, circles. Love me some circles. I love this circle that's formed right here, even though we're kind of Hollywood squares at the moment. Yes, so the mandala. And I'm gonna just share with you some information that was part of a training I did in working with mandalas and mandala assessment. So mandala is a Sanskrit word meaning circle or center. It is a form of sacred art that helps us to project what's going on inside. So it reaches beyond sort of the busyness of everyday life and allows us to connect with ourselves in a deeper way when we're creating them, and to better understand the essence of our own inner self. And the circle is a symbol of the self in its essential wholeness. And that in itself is part of why I wanted to share, it felt pertinent to share this information right now during a time when it could be easy for us to be pulled a little off center and to lose track of that innate wholeness that we all are. The circle's a great reminder. So Carl Jung saw the circle as a primary symbol and a powerful universal symbol of wholeness, rooted in the very structure of the universe itself. So this, I just think this is so cool. If you think about the shape of a circle, the symbol of a circle, it is in everything. It is the shape of an atom, molecular structure. So at the very most finite size, there's a circle. But also the planet itself and the rotation of the planet occurs in a circular fashion. So it's innate, it's in our cells, it's everywhere. And the mandala is symbolic of the round of life and death, of the cosmic progression of all things. So humans, plants, planets, projects, they all have a cycle. They all have a beginning and an end. And to interpret a mandala, a creation of a mandala, a drawing of a mandala, is to arrive at indicators of the cycles of change and growth. So in human growth, it speaks of psychological, physical, and spiritual change, all right there. And the great round of mandalas provides an extended view of the growth process. And it includes the birth process all the way to the tomb. So we speak about from womb to the tomb in mandala training. And the great round of mandalas was created by an art therapist named Joan Kellogg. And I'll share a little bit more about her in a moment. And of course, mandalas are also what we create when we make despachos. So if you're not familiar with a despacho, it's basically a mandala for the earth. It's an offering that we create to give back to the earth and honor the earth. Mandalas act as symbolic containers. Within the circle is all symbolism, like a dream. And it contains the search, not the ultimate answer, but the constant process that we're all in. Process of life, the process of our psyches. So in mandala drawings, the shapes and the colors and the color combinations are all meaningful. They're all indicators. And it's a map of consciousness. So the way that we work with the nature of consciousness itself, which, as Jung says, is the power of an organism to organize, integrate, and transform itself. And of course, historically, we know that mandalas represent the cosmic order found in representational art through time. So the Paleolithic sun wheel, the mandalas at Stonehenge, the rose windows of Gothic cathedrals, circular sand paintings that we've likely all seen, created by Tibetan monks and the Navajo. These are all ancient art forms, and they are all mandalas. So I have my circular mandala shaped piece here, holding and offering its energy as I share this information. It's amazing to me, the more that I look around how mandalas keep showing up when we open ourselves to these things. They keep showing themselves. And Carl Jung used mandalas as a form of meditation. And he is essentially credited for bringing the art form to the Western world, particularly as a therapeutic tool. He found them invaluable in working with his clients as he traced, as he would say, their individuation process. And he believed that mandalas reflected different parts of the total person at any given moment that they were created. So like a snapshot of the psyche, very dynamic, definitely not static. It reflects both conscious and unconscious elements, and it has the power to heal and unify the personality. In his last dream, Jung saw a round stone in an elevated place, a high stone, and on the stone were the words, "And this shall be a sign unto you of oneness and wholeness." That feels like a very medicinal dream. And how would it be if we all walked in the world knowing that the entirety of that wholeness in our beings? Pretty profound. And by the way, at any point, if anyone has a question or a comment or wants to chime in, I would love to just open the space for that. I can try and watch the little chat box and see. How's everybody doing so far? Ooh.
Good. And I can help you track the chat box the best I can. But also, if somebody has a question that and you're not getting seen in the chat box, just unmute yourself and maybe say, "I have a question." You're good. You'll be good with that, wouldn't you, Jen?
Totally.
Okay.
So I just wanted to show you all some little diagrams here. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
This is movement within a mandala, as it says, and you can see the different quadrants here and what they represent developmentally, conscious and unconscious, as I mentioned. Fully conscious here at the top being that place of individuation. And as I share these, something I've really been sitting with is how the mandala and this system overlays, for instance, a mesa. Some of you are mesa carriers, or perhaps there are other systems that you work with that you might see some correlation. Whoops. So this is a system created by Joan Kellogg, the art therapist that I mentioned. And Joan developed this. It's called the Mandala Assessment Research Instrument. And it's based on theories of Carl Jung, as I mentioned, Ken Wilber, Dr. Jean Gebser, and Eric Erickson. So these pioneers in consciousness, as well as developmental theory, which some of you may be familiar with, she immersed herself in studying the symbology and the theories of these pioneers. And she began to recognize symbolic designs produced over and over again in the mandala drawings of her clients. And she developed many versions of these designs until she landed on this projective assessment tool, this research instrument. And then my teacher, Carol Bush, studied very closely with her and passed down the information is passing down the information. This is another diagram, and this is another interesting way to look at it, because you can see the different brainwave states that might be accessed in the Great Round. And again, looking at it from the point of view of a mesa, the cosmology that I'm most familiar with is the Pachakuti Mesa, but I would be fascinated to hear of any other systems that you all are carrying, or perhaps the Eagle Condor Mesa. And if you notice any correlations here, I think that would be a really fascinating conversation. The difference that I've encountered is in the east here, we have, in this system, the gates of death. And in the west is after a child is born, so infancy. They would be a bit reversed in the Pachakuti Mesa system. But everything else lines up. So here in the center is the womb, or excuse me, the point of conception. And then moving down to stage 1, which is the womb, and so on and so forth, traveling around the circle. And when someone takes this instrument, and I have actually shared this with some of you, it'll show you, again, a snapshot of where you are at any given moment. And we don't necessarily travel throughout these stages in order. They show us what's active, what's operating in our psyche at any given moment. And that's always changing, because we're always in process. And then, of course, when you're drawing a mandala, you get to activate the right brain, which we're all familiar with. This is all lit up over here. I liken this to a lot of depth, what happens during a lot of depth work. A lot of us are immersed in doing many different kinds of modalities, ceremonial work being one of them. Any kind of healing work or therapeutic work, you're likely accessing the right brain. Accessing the part of you that is creative, inspired. Stop sharing here for a second. How is everybody? Any questions or comments at this point?
It's just fascinating how it corresponds at times with the Mesa.
Yeah, it's been a really fun thing to play with. And also looking at if someone were to take this instrument, select the cards, and all of the cards on that diagram, you have colors that go with them, which also are give a lot of information. So do the cards you select have something to do with what direction you're sitting in at your altar? You know, again, what issues might correlate with that part of the Mesa that you're working out in some way?
Mm-hmm. I have a question.
Yeah.
This is totally fascinating to me. I don't actually, I do despachos and I do mesas or mandalas that way. And even I do despachos within my mesa, you know, which are frequently circular too. But I've never really been particularly drawn to the Hindu or the Indian path. But I saw this and I bought it last year, and I'm wondering where it fits in what you're talking about. Can you see it?
Mhm.
Are you familiar with this?
I've seen it. I don't know that I could speak to it. Does anyone in the group have?
That's the Sri Yantra. It's the symbol of the first sound of creation, of Om. And that's one of my favorite Indian symbols too.
I just felt so, like, really, the Indian stuff actually kind of ticks me off, you know, especially since I'm in the Andes, and then they bring it here. I'm like, go to the Himalayas. But this one just, it just fascinates me. I mean, the colors are so, and the lines and everything is so fascinating.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Beautiful. So in this system, Lisa, that would actually live right in the center. That would be my sense. That point of conception is, it's like the Om. It's the point of being fully connected to source, not fully embodied yet.
I put it next to my bed. I sleep with it.
Nice.
I sleep with rocks too, so, you know, I mean, kind of strange that fellows.
But you're not alone in this group. Any other comments or questions? So what I thought we would do next to allow this information to settle, and again to have an opportunity to connect with our center, our essential state of wholeness and remembering, I thought we'd do a little meditation, if everyone's up for that. I'm going to bring some music on to join us. So go ahead and sit comfortably. Settle into your space. Take some deep breaths. And as you're breathing, just notice if there are any areas of tension or discomfort in your body. And focus your breathing into those places. Perhaps even inviting the music in to assist in the release. And then taking a moment to scan your body as you breathe, checking in and asking, where do I feel my center in my body? Maybe it's in your heart or your solar plexus. Maybe you feel it behind your belly button or your upper chest. Just continuing to breathe and notice. Knowing that this place of center is a place you can always return to whenever needed. by chance. You're not sure where your center is, knowing that that's okay. Just allowing intuition to guide you. Where is it in this moment? Just choosing a place that feels right in this moment. Now imagining a hollow tube or a cord extending down from the Hanak Pacha, from the heavens, through the top of your head, noticing how that tube travels through your body and exits from the root chakra, from the pelvis, the pelvic floor, where it's received by Pachamama, our Earth Mother. And as you inhale, drinking in the light, the Sami pouring down from the heavens, this effervescent light, into that tube, and filling that place of center, infusing it with this light. Each inhale. And then as you exhale, any puja, heavier, dark energy that you might be holding can drain down through the tube into Pachamama, where it's lovingly received. Spending a moment with that. Inhale, exhale. Light filling the center, the heaviness, puja, draining down into the earth. And then envisioning the energy of the earth now coming up through the tube and filling your body. Feel how your own centered energy mixes with the energy of the earth, meeting each other. Knowing that you're wrapped in this combined energy. Your center being filled and fed. Notice perhaps there's a message. There's information here for you to receive. connecting deeply with your place of center. Noticing how that feels. And again, always remembering you can return right here. And then as it feels right, gently releasing this hollow tube that's been connected to the heavens and to the earth. However that feels right. Leaving you in this space of connection. Space of your center being filled. And taking a couple more deep breaths in this place. And gently returning to your space, to the room that you're in, to your body. How's everybody doing? I got one thumbs up. Anything anyone feels inspired to share?
That was so sweet. I actually didn't want it to
Anything
stop.
about the meditation?
Did you hear what Leah said,
Was
Jen?
everyone able to kind of land in a center, a place of center in their body?
Wonderful.
It was so
Sweet.
sweet. I didn't really even want it to stop. It's lovely.
Let's see. I have no idea how we're doing on time here. Let's see.
We're good.
We're good.
We're good.
A couple more words about application in regards to how to work with mandalas or how to support others in working with mandalas or encouraging them. I'll just give you an example of how you might start with a wrinkled piece of paper. And a circle. I don't know if you can see that very well. I just have a circle lightly drawn on to it. You take some pastels. Pastels are often the best to work with because you can blend colors and play with it in that way. And the idea is to really just follow the flow of your intuition. There isn't a wrong way to do it. You can go inside or outside of the circle, whatever feels right. I'll show you an example. This was one that I did after a very intense breath work session. They're really incredible tools for helping to center, especially after a deep experience, maybe an experience where you're working in a non-ordinary state of consciousness, or you're working in a really depth way. This can be such a great way to integrate, especially when maybe words are hard to access.
Mm.
And another piece that you can add is to maybe write a little poem about your mandala or a haiku. You may be familiar, the haiku is just, the first line is 5 syllables, the second line is 7, and the third line is 5 again. So I don't know if you can tell, but this is full of snakes. It's full of the sacred serpent. And this was a really pivotal experience. And the haiku is, that I wrote is, I'm reaching out, the serpent arrives to teach. May I listen now?
Mm.
Wow.
So it's really fun because you can capture the essence of the experience and perhaps let go of some of the details that aren't necessarily that significant. Such a great way to process.
Mm.
Or perhaps you're just having a crazy day where you're feeling really off and you need to just take a moment and ground yourself and center yourself.
Mm.
Drawing mandalas and creating poetry or a story, giving them a title, all of that is just an excellent tool.
Mhm.
There is a quote from our friend Joseph Campbell that I think is relevant. He said, there is a center of quietness within that has to be known and held. If you lose that center, you are in tension and you begin to fall apart.
Mm.
See a little chat here.
And you know, I do know that
Thank you, Donna Glee. She's commenting on my mandala.
but I do know that you know, now with what we are experiencing,
You
the
notice
center
this little
is so important.
cross here,
Yeah.
which would be high noon in this system, which is a place of individuation, stage 7, which is definitely where I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, 7:53. So I'll just speak to one more thing quickly, which I think is really fascinating in regards to what's happening right now, globally, collectively. I wanted to pull up one of these diagrams one more time. So where it appears we are right now is stage 11. And stage 11 is the place of fragmentation. It's coming apart. I'll just share with you a little bit about it. Stage 11 often precedes transformation. So though it's disturbing, to experience it makes profound change possible. So everything feels like it's falling apart, and it must be broken before it can be reformed. It can be felt as the relentless shattering forces, chaotic, engulfing, overwhelming, high stress, disillusionment, confusion. It's that place of reactivity. Nobody's in charge necessarily, and it feels like everything is happening to you rather than there being a real locus of control, internal locus of control. There's no center, it's been ripped away. But the beautiful thing is, once one moves through that stage, we enter stage 12.
Yeah.
Transcendence. So rebirth. One has come full circle. Order forms out of chaos. Psychic life becomes realigned around the self. waters of creativity flow again. Represents ability and expectation of completing goals, lessons learned, closure, and insight. And as a result, there is a newly fused center, place of transcendence. So that seems like a really nice place to end this conversation, a place of hope and potential, that's where we're moving.
Jen, I
Yay.
noticed, Jen, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Jen, can you hear me? Jen, can you hear me?
Oh, Shay asked, no, I can't hear you all. Everybody's muted. So if you wanted to speak, please unmute yourself.
Jen, can you hear me?
Does anybody want to speak?
I am speaking. Jen.
Jen, can you hear me?
I don't think she can hear us.
I'm hearing everybody.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Jen can hear. We're talking to you, Jen.
What do you think, Leah? Should we close it out?
I'm talking to you. You can't hear me? Jen,
Oh, you know what? My volume is down.
Jen, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I think your computer, check your computer. It looked like it was almost, your battery looks like your computer is almost gone. So just check that so you don't just go down on us. Can you hear us?
Sorry, let me stop.
Okay.
You may be muted.
Yeah, I didn't think she could hear us.
Now I can.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Check
Nope.
your computer and make sure your battery's good, that you don't need to plug in. Are you good?
I'm plugged in. I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay, good, good.
Sorry, y'all. Was that music going the whole time?
We couldn't hear it. It was mute. It was turned down.
Okay, but you could hear me.
Yeah, but we were talking to you a little bit.
Oh no. Sorry, y'all.
That's okay. I couldn't figure out what was wrong.
Sorry about that.
So does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask her while we're here? I mean, this definitely is relevant for our times. I mean, we and the world is in a big transformational process. And to me, it seems like for my own process, it is about coming back to the center each and every day, every minute sometimes, about, you know, and where to step from that place. Like, how do I proceed from that place? Here's somebody. Carol's asking, is there a resource that this comes from? It's like to spread more. I'd like to spend more time with it. She must be muted. Okay.
Yes. So Joan Kellogg, her original dissertation is called The Path of Beauty. And I don't know how many copies are still available, but if you search Joan Kellogg, Kellogg, there's a lot of information about her work there, and that would be a good place to dive in and find more information, and also about the assessment tool.
Okay, does anybody else have any conversation here? I'm typing. I can't type and talk at the same time. So,
Jen,
Yeah.
so you're likening that 11th stage of disintegration or fragmentation to where we're at collectively, right?
It's a possibility for sure.
Or it's a maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think the other, like the other places on the circle also have applied to the collective human species over time? Or do you know, have you asked yourself that question? That just made me curious about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess any point in history you could look at and dissect it,
Yeah.
right? And see, you know, what's going on and what stage or multiple stages we might be moving through collectively. Is that
Okay.
kind of what you're...
Yeah. Interesting. Thank you.
Hey, Jen, that instrument that you mentioned, is that based on your drawings that a person has made in a circle, or is that based on, I thought I heard you mention cards.
Yes. So the diagrams that I showed you with the 3 symbols in each quadrant, those are in the instrument, those are cards. I should have had them in here so I could pull them up. So when you administer the tool, there's a card deck, and there's
And,
all the color cards.
and does the person choose the one they're drawn to? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. You choose 6 that you're drawn to or you quote unquote like, and then 1 that you quote unquote dislike.
Mm-hmm.
And then you lay it out in the great round, and it gives you all kinds of juicy information.
Oh, wow. I love it. I thought it was great. I remember when you taught something similar. This is a little shorter version where we actually did a drawing. We did some work with the mandala in the hoop,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really very interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing too that it can reflect what might be brewing in the unconscious. That is, it's easily seen in this when worked with in this way, but unless it was someone spoke to you, you wouldn't necessarily have awareness of it because it hasn't reached the level of consciousness yet.
About the power of the mandala shape. I have not read it myself, but Jeremy Taylor, who was my teacher, talked often about Jung, and I believe he said it was his last book was about flying saucers, and his conclusion was basically that the world was so hungry right then for the unifying power of that disc shape that even in the overwhelming absence of evidence, that the power of it caused the vast majority, I think the numbers were of Americans, to believe in the reality of flying saucers because of the hunger in that moment in history for the unification of the circle.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That makes a lot of sense. Again, it's like it's in our atomic structure, you know? It's who we are. And some of us have an affinity for flying saucers too. I'll spare you.
Flying mandala.
Exactly.
The
Anyone
flower
else?
of life is also circular, isn't it?
Say that again?
The flower of life, isn't that a mandala as well?
I'm not familiar.
Okay, that's Drunvalo Melchizedek's work. The flower works with the flower of life, and it's circles inside of circles inside of circles, and they all, the way they come together, end up looking like flowers.
Yeah, I'm reminded of crop circles and I mean all kinds of sacred geometries that have that as a structure. But I think it would be kind of fun just to do it as a, you know, whatever, just to sit down and have constrain yourself within a circle. I've done things like this before with people where, we do a sorry, that's my dog. We do like a collage, which can sometimes drawing things is intimidating for people. So, cutting up magazines and pasting things can be a little easier, but to do it within the constraint of a mandala would be kind of cool to try that kind of thing too. So.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
I have a flower of life shape. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the flower of life shape? It's Kim, I'm holding it up.
No.
You hold it a little higher.
Yeah, how's this? Is this better?
There you go. Well, we lost you there.
Okay, I think I have to keep talking or singing so that
There you go.
the video keeps working. Can you see it? I'm
Up
singing an opera.
Pull it an inch up.
An inch up. How's this? Is this better?
Or
Everybody, can you see it?
Now you're up.
Anyway, that is the flower of life.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I see similarities between that and the Sri Rantra that Lisa was.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Can I speak to that a little bit?
Please.
What?
This is just my personal understanding of this, but the flower of life is a mandala in and of itself, as well as the Sri Yantra, but they are like macrocosmic mandalas. And the flower of life, what it represents really is the fabric of consciousness, and the circles represent a unit of consciousness, and that could be like, enormous, or it can be a thought, right, or a thought pattern, or anything that repeats itself, that is cyclical. And all the circles intersect in the center, and the center represents the heart. So that gives us the understanding that in order to navigate the fabric of consciousness, we need to be in touch with the heart. When we don't, we can get stuck in one of these cycles, and that's what a lot of addictions and a lot of habitual patterns are. So the way to break it is always to stem to the heart. And so my understanding is that a mandala, especially in the Eastern context, is a representation of that. The circle is a snapshot of some cosmic energy that you want to analyze in a two-dimensional plane. There's always a center in the middle, and that represents the heart. And there's typically a square around it, as you saw in the Sri Yantra, and that represents it captured in this material. So it's consciousness is non-material, but the circle captures it, and that
so the square.
The square captures it in a three-dimensional reality that we can understand and process and play with our conscious mind. So that's my understanding of the relationship between the flower of life and what a mandala would be. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in this system, stage 7, again, that stage of individuation, it's called squaring the circle. So all the symbols in that place are different variations of squares or crosses within the circle, and that represents full consciousness.
Huh.
So that's cool. Thank you.
I also see it in the old compass rose, that tells the directions in the physical waking world, and in the Dromanon labyrinth, the round labyrinth, like an embodied mandala.
You don't have an example, do you? With you?
I have an example. Which you talked about the labyrinth. There's in the Christian church. There's a concept back from the cathedral at Chartres, which is in France, which I'm not speaking correctly. I know because I'm from East Tennessee. Sorry. That there's a huge a huge labyrinth, which is a circle, which I've done many times. Carolyn Monday, which is in Knoxville, does a workshop on that. And yeah, that's when I learned about mandalas a long time ago, and started having my clients journal through mandalas, like not any words, but just the circle only.
Mm.
And
So that was,
if I talk now, do you guys get to see the Drummond mandala that I'm showing you?
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Is
exactly
that-
what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's the one taken from Sharp.
Yeah, that's exactly the one I've done.
Beautiful, yeah, and that would be stage 3 in this system, where you're walking the labyrinth. You're engaging with the process of moving unconscious material up into consciousness. It's kind of like Joan called it the internet of the great round, where information is being communicated from below to above. And we have to walk, we have to engage in that, entering that labyrinth and staying with it to move material into consciousness.
So do they give any indication of how long stage 11 lasts? And then it looks like after stage 11 is stage 12. And then what?
Then perhaps you start over. You merge with source and start with conception all over again, the death rebirth cycle, perhaps.
But the planet itself, you're saying the energies of the planet are in stage 11?
That's my sense. What's really fascinating is when you give folks this tool, so many people are drawn to stage 11. It's like, and Joan even describes it as like a moth to a flame. Like we have as a culture, as humanity, a fascination with that which will essentially tear us apart. A lot of times it's the card that someone says they don't like. There's a resistance to that process of disintegration because it's painful. It's not a fun place to be, but it's very necessary. And you think about like the Fear Factor shows that are so popular on TV, and the movies and things like that are always demonstrating that place of being ripped apart. There's something in our psyche that finds that really both.
So what is stage 12? What is stage 12?
That's the place of rebirth and transcendence,
Ah.
and even peak experience sometimes. Rebirth.
I want to go there.
Jen, can I ask you something? I was just wondering, so if you are reading a mandala that somebody drew and you notice that it fits within a certain place in that wheel, how would you read that? Is that representative of a state that they're currently in, or is it maybe their consciousness driving them to where they need to be, or where they might balance their current energy?
I'm not sure I got all of that. The state that they're currently in, or what did you say after that?
Yeah, or if it's representative of a pool, or some indication of where they need to go, how they need to move in order to find healing or balance. Is it like a current snapshot of what's happening in the present, or does it provide us information about something we need to move towards?
That's an awesome question. I think it can be both. Often it is more indicative of what's happening in the current moment, but there can be glimpses, let's say a light coming in from the northeast, indicating hope, or the possibility of illumination coming into the circle. So yeah.
Awesome.
but it often is just, you know, this is what's happening right now in this present moment.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because I've been wrestling with this. The way that this system's been taught to me tends to lean heavily on the pathological. I hate to use that word, but you know, where the areas of growth are, you know, what's needed to for the person drawing the mandala to sort of move forward. And when you're placing interpretation on someone's mandala, I think it's a really vulnerable thing. It's a very intimate thing. And for instance, I have a therapist now who works in internal family systems, and I brought him my mandalas, and he had no interest in saying anything about it. He didn't think that was his place at all to say word one about what I had brought, if that makes any sense. So it's just interesting to play with those different kinds of approaches. So it is such a can be such a personal thing individually.
Does anybody have anything else before we close?
Just a big old thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for hanging in there to the end. I know we went kind of late, so I apologize for.
That's great.
I so appreciate all of you being here, and I hope you come back. We'll come back. I announce each week what we're doing, and if you've never been here before, you're now on my email list, and so I'll do announcements via email and social media. And like I said, next week, Alberto Fernandez Santa Cruz, Paco from Cusco will be teaching us next week. And so yeah, and Jen is going to do our closing tonight. I don't know what she has planned, but she's multi-talented. She can do all kinds of stuff. Hopefully she's gonna sing, maybe. Are you gonna sing?
Well, there is a little ditty. There's a little ditty that popped in this morning.
Okay, okay.
And I was thinking about circles.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank the person that opened as well. It was a beautiful opening. I'd never heard it done that way. It was really lovely.
Yeah, thank you. It was gorgeous. And that was a song that came through for her.
Yeah.
So let's just take a couple more deep breaths. Just releasing everything that's been shared. Allow it to percolate into the great round of our beautiful planet, the multiverse. Just absorbing, percolating, leaving us feeling clear, feeling our own centers. I would love to bring in the Hermetic prayer that is so in alignment with the mandala. As above, so below. As below, so above. As within, so without. As without, so within. As the circle, so the self. As the self, so the circle. As above, so below. As below, so above. As within, so without. As without, so within. As the circle, so the sound. As the sound, so the circle. May the circle be unbroken. Sulpai, Anaiti Kuyaiti, Kamkwe, Kamkwe, Kamkwe. Thank you all so much. I'll give you a little glimpse of the mesa before we say goodbye.
She's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh-wee.
Nice.
Sooner, perhaps. Love you all.
Love you all.
Thank you. You did a great job of
you.
teaching. Wonderful
Thank
job.
you, Jen. Great job teaching.
I'm so sweaty right now.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks, Kim, for singing.
That was fantastic.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jen.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was amazing.
It was so good to see you all.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
Thanks again, Leah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Or good day in Peru, I'm not sure.
It's night. Yeah.
Love y'all.
Yeah.
Bye.
Sweet dreams. We still got a couple here. Hold on. Is Kim here? Did Kim leave?
I think you did.
Kim left. Well, you did great.
Whew.
How you doing there? Huh?
Was that okay?
Oh, hold on. I gotta stop the recording right now. See, this is what I am so bad about.